Welcome to Sib Spot. Today's stories are from Entitled Parents. Story 1 is by Are You Okay, Annie? This person's not the original poster for this. They pulled it from Am I the A? Because it also belongs in this subreddit. I'm a 27 female and took my 4-year-old son trick-or-treating on Halloween, as normal parents do. He was so adorable in his costume and his joy was infectious. We went along, house after house, lots of smiles, exclamation about how cute he was, and of course, lots of candy. Then we came to one house. We rang the bell, and initially there was no answer, but I could see there were lights on in the house, so people were home. Also, I heard shuffling behind the door. Clearly, they were looking through the peephole to see who was there. I rang again. Then, after 2 more minutes, I rang a 3rd time, and the woman opened the door with a nasty look. And before my son could even say trick or treat, she pointed at her porch light and rudely said, "Porch light off means don't ring here," and started to close the door. The look on my little boy's face was so heartbreaking, I could not let that nastiness slide. Plus, I had never heard of such a rule and told her so, and asked how she could break a little boy's heart like that. She repeated the rule and said she didn't have any candy anyway, so please leave her alone. I asked what kind of idiot doesn't make sure to have some bare minimum candy around October 31st, like use a darn calendar. She said not everyone wants to be part of Halloween and slammed the door in my face. I comforted my poor son, explained that some people are just terrible Grinches, and we moved on to a few more houses, but the night was ruined. It got worse. I got back home and saw my phone had insane notifications. Apparently this woman had recorded the whole interaction on her door camera and posted it to the local neighborhood Facebook group. Anyway, the backlash was so bad I had to leave the group, but I'm still getting horrible DMs. Apparently the porch light rule is real. It's a way to signal you're opting out of Halloween. Who the F wants to opt out of Halloween? Even my husband won't back me up. He knew the rule. And while he's sympathetic to the social media abuse I'm getting, he said it was stupid of me to engage when she clearly didn't want to participate. I'm upset he thinks I should have let rudeness against our little boy slide. Am I the a-hole for confronting this rude woman? You are such an entitled parent. It's forgivable to not know the general rule, and yes, it is a rule. If the lights are off on Halloween, that means don't come to our doorstep. Not everybody in the world is going to be partaking in that, and they have good reason to not do it. Why the heck would you ring the doorbell twice and then wait there for 2 more minutes and ring the doorbell again? You are a massive entitled parent, and yes, you are the a-hole too. Our next story is Professional Can 930, entitled Mom Wants Her Children to Be Rewarded for Doing the Wrong Things. It happened around a year ago, and I decided to share it here since I don't have much to do. I used to be an English teacher at a large English school here in Brazil. We have a lot of language schools around the country. I'm not sure this person's an English teacher. I teached to all ages, but my favorite to work with were the children. Around March last year, I got a group of 8-year-old children who were really delightful, except for this one. Let's call her Sid, because she actually reminds me of the sloth of Ice Age. Sid was a terrible student. She did enjoy the games and extra activities, but whenever I tried to assign an activity from the book, she'd make it a nightmare because she wouldn't do anything, and then she'd complain about it the whole class. Note that their activities were basically connect the word to the picture, or color the objects that are toys, something like that. They didn't have to write anything, but Sid would still not do that. The school had training for teachers and were advised to keep a policy in the classroom to help students behave. My friend taught me the strategy of the well-behaved hangman. I'd draw a hangman game for each student, and each time they'd interrupt me, get up from their seats without permission, or stop doing an activity, they would get part of the body. If the man was hung, they'd lose, and I'd call their parents to discuss their agitation. This group was particularly passionate about the line to leave class. So the ones with the less body parts would be first, and the rest would follow the score. So, Sid always wanted to be the first, and it didn't matter how many times I told her the rules. She'd even cry about it sometimes, what resulted in another body part on her hangman. I called her mom numerous times because she was not taught limits. Conversation would go like this. Karen, she's a child. She wants to be the first. Me, well, all of them want to be the first in line. Karen, she clearly wants it more than the others. Isn't that clear? I'm just going to interject with a tiny note here. If she knows how everybody else is getting to the front of the line and she's not getting to the front of the line, then no, she clearly doesn't want it as much as the others. The others do well in the class to be first out of the door. Me, I need to be fair to all the kids. If I promise something, I cannot lie to them and let someone else be in front of them just because they want to. I didn't bring up they also behaved better, so they deserve it more than her argument, because it was a private school and my coordinator and principal were specifically rigorous to teachers who would unplease parents. Again, not an English teacher. Because there was a chance they'd take their children out of school. You are paid to teach English, not good manners, they'd say. So they'd go to the mid-year vacation, and when they came back, I'm still with Sid's group. She now arrives late every single class because her mother enrolled her in piano lessons. Being late became a restriction in the well-behaved hangman, because from the 8 students, 4 used to arrive late. It worked well for the other children. They talked to their parents about it, and they talked to me. I told them I only have 60 minutes to teach them, and it becomes a problem when I have to wait 10 minutes before I start. It makes our time short. Besides, if I start before they arrive, it becomes a problem to me, because they want to socialize a bit before we get going. They all understood it, except Karen. After a few weeks, Sid was crying over being the first in line again, and I got a call from Karen. Karen, I heard you've been punishing my daughter for being late. It's a rule we agreed to keep class in order. She's not the only one who gets negative points for that. Karen, she needs to be late. She has piano lessons before English class. Me, I'm sorry, but it would be a problem if I just let her go while adding the body parts to the others. Karen said she'd asked the babysitter to take Sid out of piano lessons a few minutes early, and you might think that she was being reasonable here, but she was not. I got a call from my coordinator asking me to go to his room for a second. Coordinator. So I just got a call from a mother asking if this is an English school or a reformatory. Care to explain? Me. I'm sorry, what? Coordinator. Sid's mom called and said you've been punishing her behavior in class. For God's sake, it's just a line to leave class. She made it sound like I was straight out locking her daughter in an Iron Maiden. Quite an extreme reference there, but we'll stick with it. Me, well, I'm not punishing her. I'm rewarding the others' behavior, and she's sad about it. Coordinator, it doesn't matter. I told you your duty is to teach English. Me, how can I teach English if the children don't behave in class? Coordinator, do your job. Don't mind those who are not paying attention. I didn't reply anymore because we had arguments before. I had been there for 5 years already, and I knew he would make up any excuse to make me the one to blame for the situation, instead of just telling Karen that it was the best thing to do. He told me not to play well-behaved hangman anymore, so I decided to play another game based on correct answers they'd give me to questions. Needless to say, Sid was not the best on that one too. Karen would complain all the rest of the semester about it, and my coordinator couldn't do anything, but didn't argue with her because Karen was an important woman in our city. Karen's complaints ended up getting me fired from the school in December. My coordinator said he would not put up with all those problems anymore. Later in the same year, I had to sue the school for not paying me the dismissal correctly, and I won. So this was kind of a happy ending, but I miss having a job. OP, you definitely didn't do what you were told to do or not to do. And, it's just a game of hangman. Like, what's the big deal? You're supposed to teach English, but you also have to have order in your classroom in order to teach. So yes, students have to behave in your room. You could have just let her do whatever, and she wouldn't have learned anything, and then her mom would be complaining about her not learning properly in your class, and you're not a good teacher, and all this other stuff. It would be her fault, but they would still find a way to blame you. That's standard procedure. Our last story is by Flappy Gestad, entitled Mom is Mad That I Intend to Convert the Guest Room into my office after the birth of my second kid. I'm currently 21 weeks pregnant with my second baby. Both my husband and I work from home full-time. We recently decided that my current office will be a great room as the nursery for the new baby. We started packing up and moving stuff around in preparation. My mom is currently visiting from out of the country and staying with us. She saw what we were doing and commented, "So you and your hubby are going to both squeeze into this small office?" I told her that's not the case. I intended to convert the guest room into my office once the second kid is old enough to attend daycare and preschool at around 18 months old. But we will put a sofa bed in there or have some Japanese futons in case we were to have guests. They will have a place to sleep and chill out in after I get off work. Interestingly, I have told her the plan in the past over video chat, and she thought it was a good idea back then. She claimed to have no recollection of that conversation happening and immediately proceeded to get passive-aggressive with me, saying, "Okay, fine, I won't visit again then." I had to remind her that it's not happening till at least 2 years from now, and that there will still be space for her to stay when she comes to visit. Besides, when my husband and I are working during the day, we hardly spend any time in the living room or family room. She has access to all those spaces. She essentially sees our current guest room as her room and expects us to keep it that way for the foreseeable future, for the few days of the year she's visiting us. Other than that, it will just be a vacant bedroom and no one spends any time in it. She complained to my dad, who actually confirmed that I have indeed spoken to them about my plan. So now she is also embarrassed at getting called out for opposing to what she said in the past. She just felt like she's entitled to that room in my house, even though she spends only around 1 month total out of the year visiting us. She's been giving me the silent treatment since that argument, and whenever I try to talk to her, she would answer with a ton of attitude and basically told me to F off. Both my husband and I find her reaction ridiculous, and are not ready to coddle up to her unreasonable demand just to keep her happy. Correct stance, OP, and don't change it. It honestly sounds like she's going through something else, potentially. Maybe she has issues with anger and forgetting things right now. Maybe she's getting dementia. You have no idea. We do not know. But if she just sees that as her room and she doesn't want it changed, tough. It's your house. She'll get over it. And if she doesn't, that's one less person in your life that you have to worry about. It sounds like she wants that room to be kept in case she needs to move into it at some point down the line. Down in the comments by LazyEffer69. Tell her to stay in the hotel then. It's your space that you paid for. Under that by TY Days. That's the solution. And as for the silent treatment, at least you get to limit your communications with this pushy, entitled twit. And finally by Blurtle Baby. Blurtle Baby. I always love it when people threaten to punish you with the silent treatment. I tend to consider it a win because I don't have to listen to them complain anymore. See? Not the nicest stances, but this is the correct stance. Our stories for today have come to a close. Until we meet again, have a spectacular day.